talk about some classic TV. This is a dry run, y'all. We ain't never done this before, so we're gonna see how it goes. In a 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Well, hello everybody, and welcome to the first ever episode of Those Were the Days, the show that talks about classic TV, reminisces, looks at things through a modern lens. We're going to be wandering down a highway of beautiful TV from the past to bring it to the future, where we're all gathered to talk about it. I'm joined by an amazing cast of podcasters. One Amy Frost, Audie Norman, and TV's Travis. I'm your host, Steven Adams. For today, I'm your host anyway, with episode 0 of this wonderful little show. We are going to get down to business pretty quickly around here, mostly by just hanging out and introducing ourselves a little bit before our first real live episode 1 comes out. So sit back, relax, and enjoy the conversation. Join in where you can. Oh man, it's been a long time coming, but it's glad to see you guys here. How's everybody tonight? Good.
Yes, I am doing quite well.
Yeah, I'm good too. After a weekend and then another day of yard work, I'm just like, bleh. So I had to sit down and talk.
It is. It's a good feeling. We got off to a little rocky start here to begin with because I haven't podcasted in a long time, but you know what? We're gonna get going. So I want to talk a little bit about where this came from. So I'm sitting in a chat room talking about I really miss podcasting because my other podcast is on hold, and I mentioned it to just out in the blue, and I have everybody and their mother texting me going, "Hey, you want to do something? You want to do something?" So Audie hits me up first. He's like, "You want to talk on the internet again?" So I'm talking to Audie, and he's like, "Let's do this." And then Travis pings me. He's like, "Hey, I'd like to do something. I got time." And then we're like, we should ask Amy if she wants to do a thing too. So we kind of marinated this idea of talking about classic television. It's a thing that do you guys have a lot of friends that were into TV that came out from before your time?
Some.
I mean, yeah, I would say yes, but I think a lot of it is just my love of just TV, and I kind of grew up with it, coming home after school watching TV, Saturday morning cartoons. We like I think all of us were sort of in the same generation of like Nick at Night
Well, see,
and
so
things
that's
like
the
that.
interesting thing for me because I did not have cable until high school because my parents both worked for a broadcast television station and cable was going to end their careers. So we were not allowed to have cable until
Interesting.
I was
So
in high
you were
school.
like the
So
real Keaton family, huh?
yeah, so I was like super late to the Nick at Night party. Used to go to my best friend's house to watch Doug in the afternoon. That was like a big pleasure because they had Nickelodeon.
Oh, Doug. Yeah, those
Nice.
we're gonna get to that in a little bit. Curse you, Ted Turner, and your cable plans. Have you done? So that's cool. So Nick at Night is definitely a place. Travis, were you still? I think you still had a thought there.
I mean, that was the type of thing is like cable and reruns were sort of a newer thing when we were younger, and so we had exposure to a lot of these things that today you would have to seek out and look for. You would have to be scrolling through your Netflix or Hulu or whatever and say, "Oh, here's an old show. Maybe I'll check this out." But at that point, it was all appointment viewing. So it was just whatever was playing is what you watch. So I may not have sought out the Munsters, but I watched a hell of a lot of it because it was on. And that was just the type of thing that you did. So I did end up seeing a lot of television that was well before my time and kind of just falling in love with it.
Yeah, sure. So Amy, you were talking about your parents were into broadcast TV. So were you sitting around flipping to like Channel 3 and just seeing what was on? What's your story for
Yeah.
this stuff?
Yeah, I mean it, and a lot of it was like later, right? It was hanging out at my best friend's house to see what was on, like when I was visiting him, and then otherwise it was like, yeah, it was catching up on Nick at Night in high school, like binging stuff, and everybody being like, "What do you mean you don't know?" And I'm like, "No, all right, all right." But then also because my parents worked in TV, You know what I mean? Like that was a big thing is, like once you're in the you're in the biz. And so that, TV was always a big deal.
Yeah, yeah, sure. You're right. It's around you, whether you like it or not. That's awesome. Audie, what was your introduction to, or I guess, how did you get into classic TV?
Yeah, I was thinking about this. Like, I think we came up at a time when TV was the thing that everybody had in their house, at least one. And I'm like, our generation was the one where we sat. I remember having those dang metal TV trays as a kid that we just sat on the floor and just watched and ate, get my
Oh yeah.
macaroni,
6 feet
you
from the
know.
TV.
Yeah, you don't
So,
want to hurt your eyes, you know.
Mm-hmm.
but I
Exactly.
remember TV in the morning before school, watching, I think it was Mr. Wizard and Lassie, I remember more than anything,
Oh
watching
man.
before school. And then, the afternoon cartoon, and then whatever was on at night. Like, we definitely did a lot of the family watching. So, we were always watching, what was it, Cosby Show? Um, I'm trying to think. I should have written stuff down. What was the one with Mrs. Garrett after
Oh,
Different Strokes? Well, like Different Strokes, and then her spinoff with the girls. What was that?
Oh, I
Not
don't even
Facts of
know.
Life.
Facts of Life. Yeah,
Facts of Life, yeah.
Oh, what's
that's what I
Facts of
figured.
Life? Okay, yeah.
Stuff like that.
Mhm.
It's just one of those things where I feel like I don't remember not having a TV that I was watching. Whether it was, I'm a kid watching Sesame Street, but then I'm growing up and watching sitcoms with my parents and with my siblings, and
Mhm.
then watching whatever else came on later on. And, me being the art nerd, I really got into cartoons and stuff. So that was a staple.
That's
Yep.
so funny. Like I remember watching. It was all like it was all on Nick at Night for me. Like we got a whole different thing going on with our kids now, because it's like, I know Audie and I both have kids, so it's like we watch them and it's like, I wish you would kind of sit down and watch what I watch in these narrative stories, but it's all like YouTube clips of things. Nothing's like even a full idea of a show. It's like, oh, there's a clip from some episode
Yeah.
somewhere, but nothing's like a
Right.
full narrative. I'm like, are they missing out on like actual storytelling overall? And for me, I remember I had a TV in my bedroom as a kid, which like not all my friends did, but my parents just got tired of me playing Nintendo on the TV in the living room. So like I would get whatever they were giving, it was a hand-me-down, so like a 13-inch TV. But it was, my bedtime was like at 8:30, and at 8 o'clock, Dick Van Dyke came on with Nick at Night. And so I would watch an episode of Dick Van Dyke and then go to sleep like every night. And I remember being like the one kid that I knew who was upset that Nickelodeon extended to 9 p.m. When that happened, I was like, I'm losing. What is going on? I don't get to watch. I think Happy Days was starting to come on at that time. Like they were, Nick at Night just kept up with like a timeline. You had your I Dream of Genies, and then eventually Happy Days, and more 80s shows started to pop in. But yeah, that was I was definitely the loner kid when it came to this. It was just my bedtime ritual, and I never told anybody like the stuff I was watching. And I'm excited to do this show now because I've gone back and watched some of these shows as an adult, like Taxi. I was big into Taxi as an 8-year-old. And I watch it now, and I'm like, what on earth did I see in this stuff? Like from that, why did I like Taxi? And I think it was a lot of like what you guys have touched on. Is it was just on. It was just what was there, so I watched it. And there were parts of it that obviously could hook. Like I loved Andy Kaufman, as Lotka, because it's funny no matter how old you are. But yeah, I'm excited to get back into, what all these shows meant and what we watched, and how looking through it with the lens we have now of like, oh, I don't know why I thought that show was awesome. Like I'm really excited to pick an episode that I remember loving just to see if I still love it.
Sure.
Which
By
I
the way,
think
the
is
Venn
exciting.
diagram of 8-year-olds and Taxi fans intersects with you.
Exactly, yeah, that's
It's
it.
You and then every other 8-year-old and every other Taxi fan.
Yeah, I'm the only kid. I watched it with my wife, and she was like, "You were 8 or 9?" I'm like, "Does it matter? I was under 10." And this show I loved it. I loved it. I tell everybody, I love Taxi. Why? So that was great. There's some really good stuff coming up. Like there's some episodes in several of these shows I've already thought of for some of our themes. So yeah, to give everybody an idea of how this show is going to work, every week we're going to pick a different episode of some classic TV. That's everything from, like, we've decided go all the way back to like the Honeymooners and stuff, all the way to like the late 90s, I think is kind of our cutoff point. You know, I get 20 years back is probably good, because you start to run into the How I Met Your Mothers and stuff, and like that's not classic TV. That's not the same. So we're going to pick
Depends
something.
on who you talk to these days.
That's a good point. There's like 7-year-olds watching How I Met Your Mother going, I love that show. It's like, wait, what? So yeah, we're gonna be going back, looking at those episodes together. Every week, somebody's gonna pick a show. We're gonna roll the dice, or go in order. We're gonna figure out how to do this, but we're gonna pick somebody. They're gonna pick a show. We're all gonna go out and watch it. That's us, as in the royal you. So everyone's gonna go, including the audience. We're gonna check out a show. Yeah. You can write in, tell us what you thought about it, tell us what you remember about it, how you felt about it, all that good stuff. And then we'll come back next week and we'll have a conversation. And we'll start talking about what we saw, how it went. And this month, it's all about the pilots, because, hey, this is the first episode of a show. We're all trying to find our legs, as most shows are, and figure out what the jam is, what we're going to do. So we're pretty excited about getting this thing rolling. But just here's a good question. When I do say classic TV and I start talking about, what classic means or whatever, Amy, what is your go-to show that like pops in your head?
I mean, I suppose like the technical definition of classic TV is probably older than I'm thinking, but like my show is The Golden Girls.
Oh,
Like
yeah.
I have watched the entirety of The Golden Girls more times than I can count. I can recite probably most of them from beginning to end. I nowadays, like I forget what I was watching, but I was watching, it was a TV show or movie, like a modern one, right? And I saw somebody and I was like, wait a minute. And I had to go to IMDb, and they were that one side character in that one episode of The Golden Girls 35 years ago. And I was
Yes.
like, well, here we are.
Oh, that's a good one. That's awesome, because I do
Yeah.
that same thing.
Yeah.
In fact, that just came up while recording one of my other shows last night, where a character in the film I watched was also in Highlander the series, and that's why the entire time I'm watching the movie, I'm like, why do I know this guy? And that was it. I just seen him a couple weeks ago.
To Steven's point of being the only 8-year-old that liked Taxi, my little sister, who is 4 years younger than I am, when she was 6, 7, 8, she was obsessed with Laugh-In.
Oh,
Which
wow.
that is also not
Wow.
a show for 8-year-olds.
That also has the same Venn diagram.
She
Is
loved
just
Goldie
your sister.
Hawn was like Goldie Hawn was her hero for like her entire childhood. She would walk around and say, if you blow in my ear, I'll follow you anywhere. It was just, like,
Totally
what?
not age appropriate, but we'll take
No.
it. Good work.
No. But here we are. She thought it was the best show.
That's amazing. Oh,
That's a fun one. We have talked about classic TV. Like in my mind, I always think sitcoms, but game shows are a thing, and we may very well visit some very popular game shows. Yeah. Travis, what about you? What's your go-to?
I mean, if I have to pick a go-to classic TV, it's weird because the first thing you want to think of is a sitcom. And I could definitely go with that, with things like Alf was a classic for me,
yeah.
or a lot of I remember watching a lot of like the Jeffersons. I remember watching oh shoot, what was the other one I was thinking of? There was a few of those. I also have, like, for me, a lot of classic TV was Rockford Files, because my dad watched that,
Ooh.
and that was the type of show that I would watch a lot of. Or Kolchak the Night Stalker. I remember catching those when they would they would replay that one season on like TBS or something. But for me, Alf is a big one. It was just a classic sitcom. I love the character unabashedly. I'm wearing my Alf T-shirt tonight.
Nice.
So
Excellent.
Good work.
that is for me the classic. But there's so many too, because you can go back to Mr. Ed, My Three Sons. I remember watching those. Dobie Gillis,
Oh, Dobie
Yeah.
Gillis.
all
Yeah.
of that.
I remember Dobie Gillis was
So-
like one of the first shows I ever saw because I remember the Thinker deal at the beginning, and
Yep.
I didn't understand anything that was going on, but it was
Not
on
a
the
clue.
TV before I went to sleep. Some kids read. I was watching Dobie Gillis, wondering why I'm watching Dobie Gillis. You did say Rockford Files, so I feel like I have to play this. As definitely
Yes.
in my head as soon as you said Rockford Files. Like, that's the coolest intro to a show. Like, where's that come from? That's amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah, man. Audie, what was your what was your thing? What do you think of?
There's two that come to mind. One we were talking about before we started, Perfect Strangers. Oh my gosh.
Oh yeah.
Cousin Larry Appleton. Oh my gosh. I in prepping for the show, I went down a rabbit hole of just watching intros to shows and came across that, and then came across an interview they did a couple years ago where they were doing a live show of Perfect Strangers or something. And they're older and they've gained a little weight, but they're still like they have that connection that was just amazing. And you saw it on screen, and uh that was so much fun. The other one I always think about that I come back to was probably the first superhero thing I ever really watched as a show besides cartoons, which was The Greatest American Hero.
I was
Yeah.
going to say that.
Mhm.
As soon as you said superhero, that was what popped in my head was Greatest
Yeah.
American Hero.
You know, and you talk about intro songs. I mean, come on.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Come on.
I'm gonna confess, you're gonna have to pick that as a show because I've never watched a single episode of Greatest American Hero.
It's okay. I've watched many
Okay.
episodes, and you probably have as much memory of the show as I do. So,
Okay.
like, I can remember the theme song, and that's it. But I do
Yeah.
remember watching it.
Yeah,
Because
for
that's
sure.
one of those where the theme song took off and is still a thing that people
I mean,
remember
it was
today
on
Oh,
more
the
than the
it was
show.
on the I Love the '80s compilation CD.
Mhm.
It was.
Oh wow,
cool.
I had no idea. I don't think if you held a gun to my head, I would know what song you're talking about. But I bet if I heard it, I'd be like, "Oh, that's familiar." Okay,
Yeah.
one of those.
Yeah.
Yeah. For
I'd say,
me,
don't make me go into song.
oh, you can, you can. We can
do
break
it.
out
We'll
into
do
song. Yeah, I'll let you. For me, it's always Dick Van Dyke Show. That is the show for me, and I think I've probably said it multiple times, just talking about classic TV episodes like Dick Van Dyke, because that show was like mine. Like, if I was gonna pick a show, I used to love sitting there waiting to see if he was gonna trip over the ottoman or not. Like, and I've followed Carl Reiner's career and Dick Van Dyke's career and Mary Tyler Moore all through. Like, you know, Carl Reiner was just a genius. And it was there's something about that show for me, and it was at a time when everything was like Leave It to Beaver-ish, and I remember learning about Mary Tyler Moore fighting to wear pants. Because every other housewife was like, you know, in pearls and mowing the living room, vacuuming. I like to refer to it as
I
mowing
refer
my
to
house.
vacuuming as mowing the carpet.
Mowing the carpet. Yeah, so it was cool hearing like she actually had to fight for that, and they really wanted to portray as close as they were allowed to on TV a normal family. And there's little bits in that I really like seeing artists in a living room. Like, anytime they would have people over, they would always be singing and dancing, or somebody was playing piano, or somebody was telling jokes and stuff. And I'm like, I kind of want to live in that world where I can have a dinner party and like talented people show up and do talented things around me. I remember hearing about Carl Reiner and Mel Brooks. This is where 2,000-Year-Old Man came from, like their famous comedy bit. They just sat down and improv'd at some party, and it became a bit for them. And I'm like, why don't we where are all the famous people? Where are all the talented folks around me that could just come in and like, I'm going to juggle? And everybody goes, dude, that guy can juggle. We should do that more as a society. I think there's something to be
Not
said
nothing.
there.
That's random side note. That's where Lip Sync Battle came from John Krasinski and what's his wife's name? I can't think of it.
Emily Blunt?
Emily Blunt.
Yeah, they did that in their house
Oh,
with
well.
friends, and then they got on. Jimmy Fallon found out about it, and they started doing it on his show. He's like, "Can we do this?" They were like, "Yeah, whatever."
Dude. And then it became an
Well, there you
actual
go.
show all its own and made Tom
Yeah.
Holland famous.
Mhm.
If you're forgetting why Tom Holland's dancing in the rain, I know Spider-Man is kind of a thing, but if you look up Tom Holland dancing in the rain
On Twitter,
not
that's what
nearly as
Tom Holland is
important.
famous for.
not nearly as
Yeah.
important. Yeah, it's definitely Tom Holland making you question everything about what you like. But anyway, that's. I mean, for me, I look at it, I'm like, I can't watch that video anymore. It confuses my brain. But yeah, man, I'm pumped to get into this and really start diving into to what all this means. And we've gone through like a bunch of different topics. We've got a whole set of stuff, like 2 years worth of themes. And I know not to foreshadow too much, but I know I'm looking forward to a handful of them. One of the themes we've come up with, the special episode, which is kind of
Tonight,
exciting.
on a very special episode.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Oh, the trailers for that
Tune
stuff.
in this week.
Especially if they've got like the thing at the end, you know, where they just have to all sit there and go, you know, we've had a good talk tonight. We've had some laughs tonight. But
The whole cast is in, and they're sitting just staring right at the camera as, like,
Yeah.
Danny Tanner's talking to you.
Right,
directly.
yeah.
there's a very good send up of it in the Venture Brothers, and
Yes.
it's just so
Nice.
good.
They're showing hotline numbers at the bottom and stuff.
Yeah,
You're like,
exactly.
yeah, this
Yeah.
is.
Uh-huh.
I mean, we're laughing a lot, but today we're sad, and we want you to know it.
Yep,
That's the
pretty much.
Saved by the Bells drugs episode. Amy, I think you brought that one up.
So
Mhm.
sad.
I always, whenever I think of the special episode, I think of like the week leading up to a Home Improvement episode where Jonathan Taylor Thomas has a goiter. And it's this clip
Yeah.
of like, I don't want to die, Dad. And it just fades into this dramatic music. And you're like, what? He's going to die? What is going on?
Yeah.
Mhm.
And then it ends on very much like, oh, no, this is a simple thing. Spoiler alert, but yeah, it's a 30-year-old show.
It's fine. Don't worry about it.
Yeah, there will be spoilers on Those Were the Days. So if you've
There
never
will be.
seen,
Yeah,
we're going to
Get
go
over it
into
now.
it.
we're talking about it.
We're going to talk about it. So, Audie, you brought up something that did not even cross my mind when we were brainstorming what we were going to do. And it was cartoons.
Oh
'Cause
yeah.
I had never even, I didn't, when I was dreaming up, like, what would this show look like? Funny enough, I was a taxi kid and not really that much of a cartoon kid, which is wild outside of like Doug and Rugrats and stuff. But like, what are you going for? Are you going to be like looking to do a cartoon theme? Or are we going to do a cartoon once a week every now and then? I'm excited about it. I would love a very special episode of G.I. Joe or something. If you got one.
Maybe. I mean, that's kind of was what I was first thinking of when we were talking about the special episodes. I was like, well, remember when cartoons started having that, knowing is half the battle at the end of the episode, teaching kids a special lesson because they wanted to sell toys, and the government was like, well, we'll let you play your TV show if you do a special message. And it's like, oh, okay, we'll figure something out. But
you can have your army show with your guns and your explosions, but you gotta have a positive message at the end of it.
yeah,
Somewhere in my parents' basement, there is still a 1980s strawberry shortcake doll that definitely still smells like fake strawberries.
yeah.
Guaranteed.
But
Guaranteed.
yeah, I
That
mean,
is impressive.
as much as we talk about these different kinds of shows, I think animation is definitely something we'll get into because you've got, I mean, the whole Warner Brothers thing. Like that was something I remember watching all the time too. Just classic
Oh,
Warner
yeah.
Brothers animation.
Well, I think what's fun about it is you can break it down and you can have your Nicktoons, right?
Mhm.
Because you had Rugrats and Doug and Ren and Stimpy and whatnot. You've got your Saturday morning cartoons. You've got your Disney afternoons. So you
Mhm.
can talk about Tailspin and Chip and Dale's Rescue Rangers
Yeah.
and stuff like that. Your
Mhm.
Fox afternoon shows, your primetime animated shows. So you got your Flintstones and your Simpsons
Mhm.
and stuff like
I
that.
was
So there's
not
so many
allowed to
different.
watch The Simpsons when
I was going to
young.
go there.
That was forbidden. But growing up for, I think the first like 6, well, so it was before kindergarten because that was when I met my best friend Doug. But prior to that, the kid that lived 2 doors down, Greg, like that kid did not spend a day without a plastic sword down the back of his shirt for like the entirety of like 1982 to 1984.
Mhm. it'll be really interesting to talk about some of these things because so many of these shows have been remade or
Yeah.
rebooted or, you
Mhm.
know, made new for this, the next generation and then the next generation and then the next generation. Like there's
They
like 5
refuse
versions
right
of Ninja
now.
Turtles that have been produced at
Yeah.
least. So stuff like that. And even thinking of like, man, there were some random cartoons that were on Nickelodeon and stuff back in the day. Like I remember this cartoon and I forget what the title of it was, but I was talking to somebody about it, maybe Travis after Highlander or something, where it was a girl got a koala and when it was nuzzles. I think that was it. When she nuzzled it with her nose, it became real. That koala is from another dimension that her dad got lost in or something. And so she flies there with the koala, and this koala has a little sister who's magic and just pops in whenever she wants. And they go to Koala World, and this girl puts on a koala hat, and that's how she blends in, and that's it. And everybody's like, "Oh, that's another koala."
I remember that show. I remember my
See,
mom hated
Yeah.
that show. It was called. She went to Koala Walla Land.
Yes.
That's what the
Mhm.
place was called. I totally remember that. It was weird, and it's anime.
Yep.
I think it's
Yeah.
anime for an American audience. Maybe I don't know where it
Mhm.
comes from, but I remember being Koala Walla Land. And you want to know a secret? I'm not an anime fan, and that show is why. That animation drove me crazy. Like really, if you get back to like why does Steven not like anime? Is because of flipping Koala Walla Land. My mom didn't like it, and I didn't understand why their mouths moved when nothing else did. Like it was a freeze frame
Mhm.
and mouths moving, and it still drives me crazy because I was a Chuck Jones,
Mhm.
that kind of Warner Brothers animation style person. Like watching The
Yep.
Mask was just the best. I was like, I wish I could be a cartoon like that guy. That kind of stuff was my jam. So yeah, I remember those off the wall cartoons. You remember the Inside Out boy on Nickelodeon? Those commercials where he flipped over the swing set and turned his inside out. Or am I the only one?
Oh
That
yeah.
stuff was great.
Yeah, I remember that.
The Adventures of Inside Out Boy. They used to do those little commercials where they could get away with anything because it was Nickelodeon, and they
it was
just
almost like it was almost like the old MTV like
Mhm.
interstitials.
yes,
The same thing, but for children, sort of.
sort of,
Ish.
yeah.
Children.
Yeah.
It was, but no.
Just children that were latchkey kids and had no parental supervision, so no
Yes.
one was going to see what they were watching.
I mean, I was allowed to watch Ren and Stimpy, and watching that as an adult, I was like, maybe I shouldn't have. Maybe that's where one
Yeah.
restriction should have been.
God,
Nice.
maybe this is why we're not okay.
Oh, Phil Rude's talking about Davy and Goliath and other Christian cartoons.
Oh
Gosh, I
yeah.
could talk. I
Mhm.
could talk. The Christian thing where they get sucked into and go through different Bible stories with its 2 white kids and their, brown kid who's local and, is probably entirely racist at this point, but
See, now that's something I think that's going to be really cool about watching these awkward about watching these is in today's society where I'd like to believe we've learned a lot. Over the last 50
I
to
like to
80
think
years.
so.
Yeah, I'd like to think we've learned a lot. So like watching shows like All in the Family and The Jeffersons and Good Times and stuff like those shows where it was definitely on the face of it like this is a social commentary disguised in a comedy. Because it
there's
wasn't.
definitely a lot of that.
Yeah. Like I think I've watched the All in the Family pilot not too long ago, and I was like, well, dang, we haven't learned much. This is actually pretty spot on. We're still kind of jacked up.
It's still relevant, and it shouldn't be.
Yeah.
And yeah.
So bringing that stuff forward and like looking at the cartoons and going, this is something that kids today would even be like allowed to watch because we can be a lot more protective than we used to be, or like is this tame in today's eyes? Like are we watching Itchy and Scratchy in real life now? But like Ren and Stimpy is so like just let them watch that. That's fine. Giant naked butts and stuff that are hairy. It's okay to throw on the screen. Rocko's Modern Life comes to mind as well. That one,
Oh yeah.
that one I love watching as an adult because you get all those jokes that you didn't get as a kid.
Yeah. Oh boy, did they got right up on that line, didn't they?
They just
Mhm.
towed
Like,
it.
they were like, "There's the line. We're gonna be right there, right there."
I like Courage. The Cowardly
Courage
Dog.
was a good one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, I never watched
There was a
Courage.
lot of really interesting cartoon stuff that started happening in the 90s.
Yep.
Mhm.
Cartoons really got to explore. Like they stopped just being toy commercials and they started really going
Yeah.
places. And that's how you get Cat Dog or
Oh, yeah.
I Am Weasel.
Or,
Yeah, IR Baboon, I Am Weasel.
Or
Yep.
Cow and
Mighty
Chicken.
Max, which
yeah, Cow and Chicken was the one I was thinking of.
Cow and Chicken,
to
Mighty
me is
Max.
like
Mhm.
Mighty Max to me is the one that's like, yeah, we got a toy, whatever. This is the show. This is the
Yeah.
story.
Uh-huh.
And some of
Come
those shows
along
were
for the
like
ride.
they were like filtered through a sugar cube. And you're like, okay, we don't even care about plot anymore. We're just going to go nuts, like Ed, and Eddie and stuff. Like, we're just going to do whatever we want. Because somewhere along the way, we figured out it was cartoons. And in cartoons, you could do anything. Like, that's at some point, they just like, oh, why are we not doing the crazy thing? Because we can. This is normal. This is something we should be playing around with. And
because we're America and cartoons are for kids.
Yeah, right.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, we
I
all
mean-
watch the Oscars, right? Animation is for children and for children to enjoy and adults to endure.
Oh, is that what you took out of it? Most of the world missed that commentary
No, this happened before that
The
thing.
slapping.
before the event. Before the
Yeah.
event. Yeah.
So all my animation Twitter was just all up in arms.
Oh yeah.
That'd be fun if we had an episode going back through like some 1965 Oscars, just to see what was out there, or Emmys. We could do 1965 Emmys. Well, what's the
Well, I
thing
mean, they
that
were
won?
talking about some of that stuff. Even so, like incidences that we didn't see on TV, but were happening behind the scenes. So
Mhm.
I think that's one of the interesting things that we'll get into with all this too, is like not only figuring out the social commentary, but what happened behind the scenes and
Oh,
how
yeah.
that became a thing or didn't become a thing, and
Ooh.
how we see it now. It's funny because it's something me and Travis, we do a show about Highlander and the things we've seen and witnessed and figured out that they were talking about, in the mid 90s. Was like, dang, that's one, impressive that they're talking about it, or two, the way they kind of
The
just,
way it was handled.
yeah.
Like the way sometimes I'm very surprised by the way that certain things are handled in a mid 90s syndicated cable television show about a bunch of people running around chopping their heads off. And they're like, wait, but that's the premise of the show, yet you went here and handled it with like deftly. That doesn't make sense, shouldn't work. So I'm really looking forward to stuff like that too. And again, it's not just your half hour sitcoms or your half hour cartoons either. There's the 1 hour dramas and the 1 hour fantasy shows and sci-fi shows that we can dive into and watch and stuff like that. So there's a lot of, I mean, obviously there's been a long history of television, but there's a lot of good stuff to cover.
Yeah.
Not even getting into game shows or variety shows or mini series educational programming.
Oh,
I mean, I
geez.
watched a lot of PBS and a lot
Yep.
of PBS shows.
Mm-hmm.
PBS is why my sister and I, and this is a category I put on the list that I'm hoping we get to. I put non-US shows on there because my sister and I, the amount of 1960s and 70s British comedies that we watched
Mhm.
as children is like it's mind-boggling. I honestly, I'm pretty sure that's how my sense of humor has developed the way it is, because I still prefer like British sensibilities in terms of humor. And I mean, like, we were watching Are You Being Served and Keeping Up Appearances and like all of those shows as kids.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
it's amazing what shapes you and your humor, like the things you watch when you're a kid that kind of you over time you start to realize like, oh, that's why I think that stuff is funny. Like watching old Three Stooges stuff, like I am a slapstick lover. Like if there's somebody falling down a manhole, I'm gonna laugh. That's just part of it. I can't help it. And my son picked up on it too. I don't know if it's in the genes or it's just normal human behavior, but it's definitely my thing. There's also like there's those short-lived Saturday shows. Like I'm a huge Ernest P. Worrell fan. And
I'm
Jim
with you, dude.
Varney. Jim Varney was on Hey Vern, It's Ernest was a Saturday morning like variety show before he was picked up by Disney and got to make movies. And I remember watching that as a kid, loving it. And it was Oh, go
You know,
ahead.
or you go in the opposite direction and you have Pee Wee's Playhouse.
Sure.
Which-
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
How did Pee Wee Herman become a Saturday morning kids show? Like,
Yeah.
that progression alone is mind-boggling.
Yeah.
But
First
amazing.
First television appearance of Lawrence Fishburne as Cowboy Curtis.
That's right.
Yep.
With some nice hair.
Right. You got your start there on your Pee Wee Herman, you know. I
Yep.
still love Pee Wee. Like Pee Wee's Big Vacation or whatever it was came out on Netflix like 5 years ago now. That was a great movie. I watched it and smiled ear to ear the whole time. I was like, this is just
Sure.
bonkers. And Joe Manganiello actually killed it playing opposite Pee Wee as just this bulky man. It's Oscar worthy. Pee Wee didn't want to come to my birthday party. Like Joe Manganiello delivering that was just, I'm like, oh man, he really wishes Pee Wee would have come to his birthday party.
That's going to be fun. Is all the actors getting their start? Like, there's an episode of The
Mhm.
Golden Girls with baby George Clooney on it.
Oh,
that is
yeah.
and you're just like, what is? Hang on, that's George
Mhm.
Clooney. What are
And
we
then he
doing?
jumped over to Facts of Life, and then ER happened, and he just took off.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, yeah, he was
Yep.
huge.
Oh, I can't wait.
So there
Oh,
definitely be a lot of that.
it's good. It's good stuff. I cannot
Mhm.
wait.
Mork on Happy Days when he showed up and Robin Williams got his start in TV there. That was
Nanu,
awesome. Nanu.
Or
It was-
just this, like, spin-offs, shows that spin off another show, or spin-offs of spin-offs, failed spin-offs.
Mhm.
There's all
Jones.
sorts of stuff like that. It's
Joni Loves Chachi. Nobody watched that. But then Laverne and Shirley was more popular, according to IMDb, is more popular than Happy Days ever was. And you're like, that was a spin-off of Happy Days.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Everybody knows that
crazy.
Schlemiel Schlemazel thing at the beginning. Doesn't understand any of it. That's fine. So,
good stuff.
what's a show that you're thinking of that everyone has seen, or a series that you think like I'm the only person who missed this and are looking forward to? I'll put you on the spot, Travis. You got anything that you missed that you're like, ooh?
Well, we can't count The West Wing because that's too new.
Oh wait, is it too new? Was that night is that crossing
No,
into
I
the
guess-
2000s?
That was in the 90s.
Yeah, you could
late
watch
90s.
West Wing. That's classic TV.
Damn it!
We're going to drag that
I
in.
can't
I'm going to
escape
drag
that
that in.
show. No matter what I do.
Yeah.
No, well, then I have to put that on there because otherwise, I'm just not doing my job right. But there's some old sitcoms that I never really got around to watching. I mean, one of them, honestly, like I've seen clips and bits and pieces, but like The Honeymooners, I've never really got into. I mean, it's hard. It's hard to say because All in the Family is one though. I will
Mhm.
say I never it that was one that kind of flew past me. So I am kind of interested to watch some more of that because I know of Archie Bunker and I know Meathead and whatnot, but I'd never really got into that show.
Yeah. That was a big one. That one is one of my like I've seen every episode 3 times kind of shows.
I've seen more of the spin-offs of All in the Family than I have All in the Family itself.
Oh wow. Yeah, because the Jeffersons was a spinoff of that. Then there's like Archie's Place was another spinoff, but I never watched that. That one was I don't know that it's caught the same tone.
I did do a little diving into recently All in the Family, and I know that Archie's Place wasn't so much a spin-off as it was a continuation of the show, but they didn't want to keep the same name.
Okay.
So they basically just continued the show by changing the name.
No one will ever
and
notice.
Restructuring it. Yeah.
It's perfect. Audie, do you have any that you missed that you're looking forward to somebody bringing up?
I don't know. Like, I feel like I've seen a little bit of everything, and it's just like I'm looking forward to just going back to it. I think if there's one that we've talked about that I never really latched onto, but guests talked about all the time is Golden Girls.
Yeah.
Like, I think that was one that was like, that's my mom's show. I'm not going to watch that kind of
Show
thing,
is so much better than it has any right to be.
Yeah.
Let me tell you.
I mean,
and again, it's another one of those where like the subject matter that they talk about for that time period and the way that they handle it is mind blowing. So good.
Mm-hmm.
I love those Matrix like Neo-esque. We're dodging the standards and practices people like by talking about this. It's the Seinfeld Are you master of your domain episode. Like how do you pull that off? Like you talk about it without talking about it. It's amazing. Yep. That's cool writing. Like you brought up Muppets one day, and I couldn't help but think about the Muppets being able to make jokes like they could make, and just pew because they're puppets. They can do anything they want and skirt under the problem with as long as Sam the Eagle's not watching.
Yeah.
Animation gets away with a lot of that too, right? A lot of animated shows can fly under the radar because it's just animation. It's just a kid's show. We don't really have to pay that much attention to it. And then they slip in jokes like fingerprints in Animaniacs.
Yeah.
It's a classic one. So
But just thinking about the people behind the shows too, like Jim Henson was an adult dude. He wasn't some kid making kid shows. Like if you see him with Rolf on the Arsenio Hall show, Rolf swears and it's hilarious.
That's awesome. Amy, what about you?
I don't know. Like, I don't know. Like I did a lot of, actually, I think a lot of the classic quote unquote boy cartoons. Because like I did watch He-Man because Greg 2 doors down loved He-Man and I watched She-Ra and then we were like, that's what we did. And then plastic swords down the back of your t-shirt for a large portion of your life. I think like there's a few things like I remember like so I have an older brother and sister who are 17 and 18 years older than I am. So like they were watching grown-up TV when I was a kid too. And I remember St. Elsewhere was a big one in the house that I have never seen. I remember that being like I remember that being a big thing. So like I feel like at some point we'll just work St. Elsewhere in there so that I will have seen it.
I feel like I know that show because of everybody that came out of it.
Right, yeah. It was incubator pretty much.
I kind of want to do some of like the old soap operas.
Like Another World.
Good. Yeah. Dallas.
Oh no, yeah.
Yeah.
Dallas would be a good one.
That's what I'm saying. But I mean like half of those are still on.
Yeah.
Just they've been rebooted. Year,
Yeah, because they rebooted Dallas. They rebooted
Hill Street Blues was another one in our
house. Yeah.
My dad loved Hill Street Blues.
Yeah. We have to for me, like we've got to do some westerns just to make my dad listen to the show. Because I was talking to him like classic TV, and he's like the Rifleman, the Virginian, Gunsmoke. Like it was just this, kept naming things like we have to watch. I mean, Gunsmoke was a big deal.
Wagon Train,
yeah, Bonanza, like good lord,
yep,
Bonanza was a thing. So yeah, there's a lot
of
those.
One where I know the theme song of Bonanza. I couldn't tell you a plot of a single episode of that show.
No, I just remember the
dude. There's some questionable ones though.
Of course,
theory.
I'm sure.
Westerns are rife with great illustrations of entire sets of people. We're gonna have a real good time with that. The early ones, it's just white hat versus black hat. That's pretty much it. Zorro, I mean, you got that going. The one that actually is probably going to shock most everyone. I have never sat through an entire episode of Andy Griffith ever in my life. And I don't know.
Well, you're going to.
Yeah, apparently. I think that was syndicated on TBS or something, so Nick at Night never got it. Like, I think it just wasn't in their library. So I wasn't watching.
Yeah, because I remember that always coming on after the Braves game was over.
Yeah,
that's the thing.
No, that's you're right, because I watched a lot of Braves games growing up, and it was always Andy Griffith.
Oh, yeah.
So I saw it there, or I remember there was some stinking Bible study thing around Andy Griffith at all being in the South in a church. That was definitely used at some point.
Yeah.
Ooh, Love Boat, Fantasy Island are a couple more getting mentioned in the chat room.
Yeah, Johnny Quest, Thundercats.
Oh, Johnny Quest.
Somebody mentioned Gilligan's Island earlier, and
Oh yeah.
You gotta watch that. Particularly episodes where anyone shows up on the island that's famous, like Harlem Globetrotters.
I love those. Yeah. I as much as I love the here's secret first, early appearance of actor who becomes huge later. The gratuitous celebrity guest is always good.
The one-
Scooby Doo had that down perfectly.
Oh,
like,
yeah.
celebrity
Scooby-Doo was
guests in
amazing.
Scooby Doo between Harlem Globetrotters,
I was
but
gonna
like,
say
what was
And the Justice League.
the Justice
Laurel and
League? Who was it? Dorf, Tim Conway.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Oh
Dorf.
gosh.
Like as a kid, I had no idea who Tim Conway was, except that he was a guy on that episode of Scooby Doo. Like
Yep.
that was all I knew about him. Like stuff like that.
Oh yeah.
That'll be great.
So good.
Tim Conway, anytime I think about him, I think about the elephant joke on Carol Burnett. Like, if you ever watch the outtakes of the elephant joke, it's the funniest thing I've ever seen in my life. And I'll watch it every now and then. If you're feeling blue, just look up Tim Conway's elephant joke, and it'll make you happy. It'll make you smile. Because it just wrecks everyone in the room, and it's just the greatest. It's the greatest thing that TV ever did. I'm so excited for all of this. We're going to have just an absolute blast. Oh my gosh. And everybody joining in and getting so excited about it. Somebody mentioned Newhart, and I went haywire. I love Bob Newhart. Both the Bob Newhart show and Newhart, where he's the innkeeper. Like that whole thing, just my word, that's good stuff. So I can't wait to get started with that. So to close this, to swing us back around to the whole purpose of this whole thing, you basically all just sat through a production meeting. This is the first time. I think Amy said that in the chat earlier.
Yeah.
She's like, we're just doing a
It's like
public
it's just a production meeting.
public production meeting. So it's episode 0, but we're gonna get this thing rolling. And we rolled the dice earlier
Somebody
this
tell me
week.
off, please.
Yes. Can someone bring me some more coffee or a beer and bourbon, something? I don't know. What do you drink? I'm on some new diet. I can't drink anything real heavy, so we're just gonna have to go with. Well, yes, stupid. Anyway, Travis, you are our first episode picker for the theme of pilots. So, what are you gonna make us watch this week?
Well, as mentioned earlier, one of my favorite shows of all time is Alf. And
All
so
right.
we're going to watch the pilot for Alf. The first episode when Alf comes to Earth and he meets the family. So that is going to be our first one. And it is available to watch on Tubi.tv and IMDb.tv free. You don't need a subscription of any kind. There are limited ads, but it's a half-hour show, so there's going to be like 2 ads. But that is what we're going to watch is Alf, season 1, episode 1. And I can't wait to talk about this one next week.
I'm really excited. And I think by watching it with ads, you're just giving yourself an authentic experience.
Yeah.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah, there's something that's not satisfying about like the fade out, fade right back in. Like you need an advertisement for Dawn or something in the middle. Like,
Right,
oh,
there's
look
gotta
at
be-
this soap.
Yep.
I think that's
That's why I like watching, like especially watching like Christmas specials now. That I own them all on DVD, and they're not like the tape that we taped off with the Folgers ad where the kid sneaks home and makes the coffee in the middle of the night and wakes
Gosh, I
everyone
remember
up.
that commercial.
That one.
that's great.
You know.
With the sound in the VHS tape, like watching something on a VHS tape over and over, it just has a sound and a look to it that just you feel like that's necessary. That just warbled kind of audio that you can still understand, but it's not right. It's just not.
Oh, absolutely.
The video gets that crinkle in the top and bottom that grows just a
Tracking-
little bit every
tracking
time.
together.
Yeah. You need your VCR with the auto tracking feature. They try to keep everything as close to right as you can. Even though there's
Kids today won't ever remember tracking or vertical hold.
no idea.
Dude, they don't even know how to turn a TV on with a knob.
Dude,
That's true.
what? You can't even find the power button on most modern TVs. Like, good luck.
No, I couldn't find mine.
Yeah.
It was so long. I had to look in the manual. I was like, this is embarrassing.
Well, you're feeling around all the sides of the TV. You're like, where is
Or they're
it?
just straight up capacitive, and you're just like,
Oh, yeah.
where is it on
Yeah.
that glass somewhere?
There's a panel in the bezel, and there's a button in there somewhere. I just don't know where.
All right, forget it. I'll just download the app on my phone, apparently.
to turn my TV on.
Yep. Yep.
My TV.
That's exactly what it is.
Or
Oh,
you just
it's a
wait.
Power strip. It's
Yeah,
fine.
you just wait for it to shut off on its own.
Mhm.
We've just revealed how perfect we are to talk about this stuff by just having an entire get off my lawn section about TV knobs. Like, this is, you have come, if you are listening for the first time, you have come to the right place. You'll never find a group of people more qualified to talk about old
Guys,
TV.
I don't want to alarm anyone, but I think we're middle-aged.
Oh, God.
Don't
Oh,
start, please.
no.
Please don't start.
I can't handle
It's
that.
bound to
No.
happen. It's bound to happen.
Our check engine light's going to come on soon and it's just not going to go off.
Oh.
Oh man. Well, this is going to be great. Thanks everybody for coming by and checking out episode 0 and hanging with us as we just revel in the joys of black and white television and crispy audio. We're gonna have a great time. We're glad that you're here. Subscribe. The feed will be coming up soon. I'll post that on the Twitters. So what's our Twitter, Travis?
Our Twitter is @ThoseDaysShow.
Those Days Show. So follow us on Those Days Show, and we'll post once we get all our feeds running. I think we have to produce an episode before they show up. So they'll be coming everywhere that you get podcasts, your Spotify's, your iTunes, your whatever, or Apple Podcasts. I forget. It's not iTunes anymore. It's Apple Podcast. So you got to get that right. And Google Play Store, I don't know, wherever you get your podcasts. You can also going to be able to watch on the YouTube over there at twodorks.net/YouTube if you want to watch our smiling faces being all animated again. And if you want to email us, we'd love to hear your thoughts on the show and all that stuff. You can email us at thosewerethedayshow@gmail.com. We'll get those, we'll read them, we'll share them on the show, we'll have a good time chatting about this stuff together. So after you watch Alf, tell us what you thought. Tweet at us or email us. I think it'll be a good time. So any parting words, y'all, before we close this thing down?
I'm just so excited. I watch so much TV.
Next time on Those Were the Days.
Oh, man.
Join us again next week for the continuing saga.
Oh, there's so much we can do there.
Special episode.
This is going to be good stuff. All right, everybody. Well, thank you all for coming and join us. You're awesome. And we'll see you next time on Those Were the Days. Hey, we did it. We're still live.
We made it.
But we did it. We did it. Hope everybody had a good time out there in Twitch land. Thank you for all the people that followed. I mean, my goodness. This is probably, we've released shows before, but this show seemed to hit a nerve because, there's 15 different followers in here. It just blew up all over the Twitters. I'm super excited about that. That was super cool. So there must be more people out there that want to talk about old TV. We have found our tribe. We just had to.
We have.
We had to shoot off the flare gun. So
those were the days. Twitter account is brand new, so I'm gonna need a little bit of time to. I've got the album art up for our avatar, and that's it so far. And like I said, we follow NASA, but we'll start building that. Amy over here flashing her I won America's Next Top Podcaster
No,
mug.
this was everybody
thing.
got one of these my season. This was so you think you've got the talent to be America's Next Top Podcast.
It must have just been a season 1 thing then, because I didn't get anything.
I didn't get one, but I don't remember. I kickstarted it, but probably not at a tier where I could get a water bottle.
No, this is there's the money right here. This is the
Oh man,
First flash that.
It's very dusty.
Amy's been on a show that actually gives her the physical gift they promised her, Travis.
Fair enough. I have them. I have the challenge coins. They're upstairs in a box that is waiting to be mailed.
To be fair, Amy, your challenge coins from SideQuest were stolen in the mail. When I got the envelope from Travis, they were just there's a slit in the side, and they were poof, they were gone.
It's terrible.
Stupid people.
All right.
But yeah, I'll have that up and running.
Alf, S1, E1.
Yep.
Where'd you say it's on Tubi?
It is on Tubi, IMDb, Shout Factory TV, or Shout TV has it, as well as Roku.
Oh, cool.
So
And you can
There's a
probably
few.
find it on a DVD set at Cracker Barrel, probably.
Also true. That would not surprise me at all.
That's
So you've
actually
got
really good.
4 options on where to watch that one.
Oh, we'll just watch anything we can get in the 99-cent bin at Walmart.
Oh,
That would be
that's
great.
good. Yeah, y'all made me think of so many. I mean, it's just endless. There's even shows I never watched that were like random CBS late night junk, and I mean, we can find trash
Oh, man.
shows,
Oh, we
just
got so much.
trash. It's gonna
I
be
even
great.
remembered, like, do any of you remember a sitcom called Dear John?
Yeah.
Like,
Dear
I remember watching
John,
that
dear
all the
John,
time.
now
Yeah.
the time to say
Okay.
Yeah, no, I remember it. I can sing you the theme song right now.
Apparently.
No, I remember it.
I don't remember that one.
I don't remember that one.
Yeah, it
It
had
was
Judd
about a
Hirsch.
guy who got a Dear John
A
letter.
Dear John letter. Yeah.
All right,
Okay.
Yeah, Judd
Columbo,
Hirsch. gets a Dear John letter.
Columbo.
Judd Hirsch
Oh, we're
was
doing
in it.
Columbo.
Oh,
Columbo.
Columbo.
Yeah.
Just one more thing.
Oh, I
Yeah,
got it.
we're
I gotta
doing
watch
Columbo. I mean, you got your Dear John Coach, Major Dad.
Oh, Coach.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, Coach. Forgot all about Coach.
Keep thinking
It
about
was a long, long time before I realized that Dauber on Coach was Patrick, the starfish on
Mhm.
SpongeBob.
Oh, what? Really?
He's done a lot of voice work.
That's amazing. I'd love to
Mhm.
talk about the actors that had like the one role and on the show and then like didn't do anything after that. Like whatever happened to
Oh,
Dave
like-
Coulier, you know? Like,
The Jaleel White effect.
oh yeah,
Nice.
Jaleel White. So, we got to cover a Family Matters episode.
Which-
we need to have
Which,
like
by
an
the way,
entire.
if you
If
have
it could
seen
be
him,
a Stefan Urkel episode. Dinosaurs.
Yes.
Oh,
Yep,
yes!
of course.
Oh,
It's just
not the
so
mama.
Talk about going over kids' heads and getting away with adult stuff. Good Lord.
There's a special
Show Not
episode
Found, yes,
for
that
you.
one I did know, by the way.
Remember when Robbie on
The
Dinosaurs
Kurgan.
ate the steroids and he got all bulked
Mm.
up? That was a
Yep.
good
Yep.
drugs episode.
And
Oh.
it's an A+. It's very
Or
special
just the
episode
way
choice.
that show freaking ended
Yeah.
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 with the Ice
Oh.
Age. Like,
Yeah. Well, that,
Mhm.
I like to think there was a meeting and they're like, how are we gonna
mm.
how
Or
alright.
like after talking about Ninja Turtles and what's his name being Splinter, who did Elmo, he's the baby. In
Oh yeah, Kevin
Dinosaurs.
Clash.
Kevin Clash.
what, really?
And you
Oh,
could hear
man.
it
Kevin Clash.
in Dinosaurs for sure.
Yeah.
When the baby's like, not the mama.
Yeah, yeah,
Well,
you
the
can.
baby sounds a lot more like Elmo than Splinter did.
Right.
Like, if you played a clip of Elmo and a clip of Splinter, you would never think that's the same voice.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, yeah. I mean, that's what voice actors do, man. They're talented.
Yeah.
You might be able to get an inkling of their sound, but you know, it's
There's
if they're
two
really
kinds
good.
of voice actors, right? There's that kind of voice actor, and then there's voice actors, which is the kind of voice actor I am, which is the Mark Hamill voice actor, which is you have 3 voices and you know all of them are you.
you
Yes.
You
And
just
that's fine. Like
Just
it's
Minor
Twinkle.
fine.
variations
That
here
is-
and there.
that
Yeah,
is
Like
No,
it.
Howie
there's a
Mandel
place for
made
that.
his whole career off of that.
oh, Bobby's World.
Oh, yeah.
There's another one.
Mm-hmm.
Man, there's so
Yep.
many. There's so many choices. This is just gonna be the best time. I can't wait to go through all these.
The other cool thing too that I actually really like about the idea of take a topic and then do the 4 episodes on it, so we each pick one, is that we can go back and revisit. We can do pilots again down the road and pick 4 different
Mhm.
pilots. We can pick different Saturday morning cartoons or game shows, because like game shows would be an interesting one, because just doing a single episode of it is going to be kind of dull. But like
Sure.
diving into a game show and
Yeah,
watching
yeah. No,
a
I think
few
some
them.
of them, like when Random Number Generator Horror Podcast number 9 does TV shows, they'll do like the first 3 episodes.
Mhm.
So I think for something like a game show, like
You would have to like,
few.
or if there's one of those game shows that has those moments, you know, like watch the episode where there's like, what was it, the Gong Show, where the 2 girls come out and have popsicles on stage, and it just everyone just dies, and no one rings the gong, and like studio execs, their brains are on fire,
Mm-hmm.
like that kind of stuff. Like, what are we doing? That was
Oh,
good.
you know what, I just remembered like formative television that I had totally forgotten about.
Kit bringing up Press Your Luck.
No
I watch
whammies.
So much Press Your
Whammy.
Luck.
Yeah, is Who Wants to Be a
Or
Millionaire
the
a classic
kids
at this
game
point?
shows.
Oh, remember
Oh.
At some point, we will bring up Double Dare and talk
Funhouse.
about it.
Liar,
Dare.
Liar, Liar. You remember that? Was it Liar, Liar? What was the name of the show where this dude with a fro and overalls? Oh, and it was these two kids. They were like brother and sister, and they were supposed to fight. They were in competition against each other. You cheater or something. I don't remember. I remember my mom hated that
I
show
don't remember
too.
that one.
It had a very
Remember-
pink background. It was really ugly to look at, but it was a show for kids. I gotta
Shows
find
that
that
were
one.
on early Nickelodeon, because I remember early Nickelodeon had remember Count Duckula.
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh yes,
Loved Count Duckula and Danger Mouse.
I forgot all about those.
I also watched a lot of You Can't Do That on television.
oh
That was
yeah,
such a
Mm-hmm.
because that was the show where it was like,
Legends of
ooh,
the
this
Hidden
is the cool thing. Legends of the Hidden Temple was a
The
good one,
kid-
yeah.
There was
Yeah.
recently, I forget where, it was probably somewhere like BuzzFeed. There was recently like an article with people that were on Legends of the Hidden Temple, and they talk about how scary that
Oh.
actually, like in the
Oh,
temple,
yeah.
like when the temple guards come out, and like how actually scary that was. And that's why, like, you're watching them try to build the monkey, and it is 3 parts. And they cannot do it because they are
Because they're
so
terrified.
scared.
Well, I mean, they're putting their arm in a tree to like grab the
No.
token or whatever, and the tree can grab them back. Like,
Yeah.
no,
Yeah.
thank you. No, I've seen the
I just
Goonies. Like, I
remember
don't want
with,
it.
Like Double Dare and Super Sloppy Double Dare, and then learning that what's his name?
Mark
Mark
Summers.
Summers is
Mark
like
Summers is-
OCD.
OCD
Uh-huh.
and was like his wife caught him brushing the fringe on the carpet one night.
And he was the host of Double Dare.
Double Dare.
Like
Yeah.
the,
Good
the
job.
messiest show on TV.
I mean, hey,
Oh.
that's something for your resilience there. I used to love that big wall
Yeah.
of what would you do? You remember that where they could open a door and they got a prize
Oh,
or
yeah.
whatever? That was always the coolest thing. I was like, those doors are so awesome. I want to open them. Nickelodeon was the greatest. It's
Oh,
just
we gotta come up with some sitcoms to do, and then do Battle of the Network Stars
Ooh,
after
Oh
those.
yeah.
there you
Oh
go.
yeah.
There you go. I love it. Yep, this is gonna be good.
At some point, the Incredible Hulk is going to come up. At some point. I
Oh
know it.
yeah, early Super. I mean, the Flash. Do
Yeah.
some John Wesley Ship Flash
Oh,
episode.
yeah.
Dude, oh man, the Flash was my jam when it
That
was
was
out.
great.
Loved that show.
I mean, I used to watch the original Superman. I think I watched that whole series twice or something, because it would just replay from season 1 all the way through again.
Oh,
The
yeah.
Wonder
Mhm.
Years. We didn't even touch on the freaking Wonder Years.
Oh my
Three's
gosh.
Company.
We
Three's
didn't touch on a
Company.
lot of like,
I
well,
mean, we
both
got time.
half
If only
hour
we
stuff,
had a
but also
show.
I know.
right, but also like the hour long stuff. All the '90s shows that
Mm-hmm.
all that X-Files type stuff, and like
Oh,
The
yeah.
Pretender.
Anybody
The Pretender
wondering
was
if
almost
we're
a
gonna
pilot I chose, by the way, but
Oh,
it
The
wasn't
Pretender.
streaming anywhere.
I remember
Like,
that.
it's not available anywhere unless you buy it. But it's such a good pilot that kicked off a show, and I just was like, I can't. It doesn't make the cut.
Yeah. I'm gonna
Magnum
have to-
PI.
Never seen an episode of that ever.
Ooh, Magnum's good.
Miami
Knows
Vice.
some good
Never
stuff.
seen that.
WKRP.
Oh,
I
yeah.
love WKRP. That only came on for a little while in Nick at Night. I feel like they would beta test shows for a little bit and see how it goes, and then if it didn't hook, whatever, they would throw it away. Because WKRP was on for a week or two, and then it just disappeared. It's like they would run a marathon. So you'd 1 week they would just have 8 episodes during the night of that one show, and then you never see it again. So I can't help but wonder if that was a let's gauge interest on putting this in the
Murphy
rotation.
Brown had 11 seasons.
Murphy Brown. I remember that.
That was a thing.
What was the one with Brett Butler?
Oh, I know what you're talking about. She was
You know
like a
which one I'm talking about?
mom.
That had like
yeah.
she was, but that show had like 7 or 8 seasons.
Grace
Like
Fire.
Grace Under Fire.
Grace
Yeah,
Under Fire,
and
yeah.
That was
it
it.
blew my mind when I saw how many. I'm like, I remember watching it, and I
Mhm.
remember specifically watching it during a run where there was a guy on there that was also on In the Heat of the Night, the series, and for some reason, I remember him in both of those, even though I barely ever watched In the Heat of the Night, and that's all I remember from Grace Under Fire. And he was on Grace Under Fire for like a dozen episodes. So somehow, though, like that's what burned into my memory. It's so weird. Brains are weird.
Remember the Dave Barry show? Was it Dave Barry, or was it he was on it, or a guy playing him was on it? Because he's like a
Oh, that was
cartoonist or something. What was that called?
what's
That
his
show
name
was
from
great.
Night Court? Harry Anderson.
Yeah.
Played
Right.
him. I think it
Night
was
Court.
called
There's another one.
Dave Barry.
Was it just the
What was
Dave
it
Barry
called?
show or whatever? I don't remember. It was great.
Something
I
like
love
that.
that thing. Yeah.
Highway to Heaven.
Yeah.
Oh,
That was the other
dude.
one I remember.
What about those
Is Amazing
hour-long
Stories
shows?
actually a series?
Amazing Stories was a series.
Mm-hmm.
My dad.
You remember Touched by an Angel? Gotta watch.
Yes.
We gotta watch some Touched by an Angel.
That is an unfortunate title.
It is very unfortunate.
Mhm.
Like, hey,
Show used to
gang.
blow my mind. Rescue
Remember
The
911.
episode art for
That's cute.
the episode art for that one has to be somebody holding a doll saying "Touched by an Angel."
Show me on the doll where the angel touched you.
Or
Did y'all watch any of the
Rescue-
syndicated
wanted to
stuff
be
that
good at
was
baseball.
like Hercules and Xena came out of, but it was like in like a network thing?
No, I don't. I've never
Like
watched
they
a
started
Xena
out like
episode.
Hercules started out as like TV movies before it became a show. Because there was
Well, yeah,
that one.
That would
Yeah.
happen quite a bit because like Stargate SG-1
Mhm.
started off on Showtime.
Yeah, I remember
and
that.
the pilot of SG-1 is an hour and a half long. It's
Mhm.
96 minutes.
Dang.
Touched by an Angel was on the poster for Dogma.
Oh, what about the cancel
Yeah.
stuff like Briscoe County Jr.? Like,
Oh
Yep.
yeah.
you know,
Actually,
that stuff that never got to
I-
work.
I showed this before you got on my list of potential pilots. And when one of them is scratched off here is Briscoe County Jr.
Briscoe.
Yeah.
Yeah. I remember
And
there's
randomly, all of a
shows.
sudden I'm thinking of Dr. Quinn, Medicine Woman.
Yeah.
Yep.
That was a
big one.
thing. That was a thing. There's a lot of shows that I wanted to watch that I knew were out, but I could never figure out what time they came on. And this is before the internet. So, like, I don't know what network, because I'd be just hitting through channels and see a commercial and be like, oh, that looks cool. I'm going to have to remember that and just flip and forget.
Dude, we got the TV grind every week. I was like,
Dude,
Like,
that's
I used to
they
be
still
have
print
to look it
those.
up in like the newspaper.
mm-hmm.
Oh
Yeah,
my god, the
Monkeys.
monkeys.
Sunday
My
newspaper.
sister-
Monkeys.
My sister and I
Walker,
watched the
Texas
Monkeys.
Ranger. I was all about that one.
Oh, yeah.
My
That's another.
sister's taste in television as a small child was actually phenomenal. So it was laughing.
Clearly.
It was the monkeys. It was Are You Being Served?
The
That's
Monkeys was great,
phenomenal.
though. I love that.
My most like vivid memory of Walker Texas Ranger is less the show and more the bit on Conan O'Brien, where he would have the giant lever and he would just randomly pull the lever and play a clip from Walker Texas Ranger.
Yeah.
And it would just be a random clip until one day he went to pull the lever and you hear a gunshot and it cuts to the crowd and there's Chuck Norris in his Walker Texas Ranger gear with like a smoking pistol.
That's amazing.
It's the second best running gag on Conan ever. The best one being Paul Rudd.
Of course. Did you see he pulled that on Conan's
He
podcast
pulled
the
it
other
off
day?
on his podcast. It's
Yeah.
so good.
It was amazing.
Oh.
You can't do this on a podcast. It's a visual joke. It was so good. Loved everything about it. All right, y'all. I would love to sit here and talk about this stuff all night because I'm
If
having a
only we
really
had,
good time.
Like a place to do that.
Yeah, so
Yeah,
weird.
yeah.
But we're going to be back next Monday to talk about Alf, so that's going to be great. But I got to go drag my kid out of his bed to make sure he uses the restroom before he sleeps for the rest of the night. 'Cause that's a critical move for me, or I'm going to be changing sheets. So that's, it's a good time.
That it is. All right.
Yeah.
Fun time.
Excellent.
You know it. He'll love that I said that on
Oh,
the
I do.
internet when he's older.
I
Yeah.
do know it.
You know it. All right, y'all. Well, thanks everybody for joining us, and we'll see you next Monday. Swing back by and look out for the feed on the Twitter there. We'll get that posted as soon as we have it, and we'll see y'all next time. Bye.